So are we sitting or are we walking and
Oh,
talking?
no, let's do the tour first.
Okay, tour first. So let's start at the front and then we'll go down the other side. So, hello, welcome to Spinning Earth Pottery. And this is sort of chronologically speaking, the end of the tour. And at least for now, I'm 59 years old and been making pots since I was 17. This kiln, which is an anagama, which translates into cave kiln, was begun. It'd be 4 years ago this October 1st. We actually broke ground. There were trees and a fence, and when Herrick was here, actually, that's what he would have seen. Got the post. This barn was the first thing that we started. Got the slab in, and was then able to get some of the shed up. The steel wasn't up. We started building the kiln. We had rain. It was awful. You know, all the stories that you get from doing construction backwards. And long story short, 5 months later, we were pretty much done, but not quite. There's many layers to this kiln, and there's a stucco layer that had to go on at the end. It wasn't really necessary, but we wanted it to be pretty. So it hasn't really got its skin until just about 3 weeks ago. And that's what this color is here. We put on a color coat as a third coat of stucco over everything, just in the standard stucco style like you would do on a house, actually, with wire mesh and then a brown coat, scratch coat, and then your finish coat. We can actually step inside if you want to. And got a few little things in here. We'll do the back ports are actually blocked up because we'll fire that soda kiln by itself from time to time in between the big firings that happen 3 times a year. This kiln is 6'5" right here, 6 feet wide at the breadth. And then everywhere else is smaller, depending upon where you look. Some people ask me how many cubic feet this is. I don't know how to figure it, but it's a bunch. 300 plus. It's probably less than 400 though. And it's now been fired 10 times. One of the cool things about this kiln is the brick pattern. If you look in the top here, a lot of people pour their key anymore, and I was planning on pouring it. We had the stuff sitting outside to pour it, and I thought, I'm going to see what happens, because you know, you're bringing your bricks in and they're going to meet right there, right at the top of the arch, and they're going to come right there, and I had a gap. And so the next course means we got to start cutting things and making things fit. So I thought, I'm going to see how hard that is. It took me about 20 minutes to get the 2 bricks married up pretty good, and I thought, I'm going to see how another one goes. And the next one was about 19 minutes. And then the next one was about 18 minutes. And about the time I got to right there, I said, I'm going to do the whole thing. And so the entire key is actually cut in, no poured key, and I like it that way. I think it's beautiful. So we were able to make the outside beautiful also here about 3 weeks ago. We had a lot of it finished up to here, but from this point back, for the last 10 firings, it was kale wool and chicken wire. And so not very pretty. And then the next day we came back and put the finish coat on the entire thing, including these next 2 chambers. This is the soda kiln. And this is, we call it a vapor kiln, essentially now. It was built to be kind of an afterburner for smoke. Doesn't work that good. So we just put pots in it. But we get a little bit of soda coming through, and the pieces in here are actually pretty cool. The traditional anagama would not have a chamber after it. It would just be that part of the kiln. So we've got a chamber after this. So somebody said, is that what do they call that? Augagama? A Nabora anagama? I don't know. He said something that kind of tried to put Naboragama with anagama. Now, Nabora means climbing. So Naboragama is another style of kiln. It's a climbing kiln, but the arches go up and up and up and up, each one ascending or climbing. And that's what Nabora translates to. These don't climb. This is another one that's the same actual level as this. Actually, it descends just a little bit, and then this is on the same level. So technically speaking, this is an anagama with 2 chambers at the end, but it doesn't sound as good. So we just say anagama. After finishing this, we have our next iteration of the Spinning Earth Pottery Palace. And what you see here is, this is a 40 by 40 slab here. This is another 40 by 40 slab. The posts that you see will be a 32 by almost 20 foot wide wood storage. And then the rest of this space around here is going to be for processing wood, bringing splitters in and out, being able to dump wood right off this side into this space. And then we're going to have another soda kiln, the exact size, the exact kiln that's over there, because that one is a sweet little kiln, fires to cone 12 in 12 hours. Everything looks great. So we're just going to build that again right here and kind of wall it off just a little bit. But for the most part, this is wood processing and wood storage. This should hold somewhere close to 60 of these crates. We build crates here, 4 foot high. They're usually 4 foot in one direction, but not both. And we have a skid loader that we move all of our wood with in this manner. And so we'll be able to stack 2 high and really tight in that area and get 55, 60 of these crates in at a time. And something that's super important in wood firing is having properly aged, properly dried wood. And so taking care of your fuel is really important, and that's what this section here is going to be all about. It's a vague, it's kind of like remembering a dream, because I didn't know I was going to need to remember you. It was at the Houston and Sika, and we were just talking, geeking on some kind of glaze something, I don't know what. And I only remember that because when you called later, you referred back to it, and it was close enough in my mind that I remembered, but now it's like a long time ago. You called, and we had a conversation. I still, to this day, don't have a protocol. Last workshop I taught, they asked, what is your apprentice program like? And I said, I don't have one. There are apprentices here, but there isn't a program. I take it as they come, and I'm a little scared to put the word out. And I figure God just brings me people that are supposed to come here. And I'm just going to let that happen because it's been working. So that's kind of how I'm flying. And when I look back at the people that have come here, almost nobody's come here for pottery. So we're under 500 as making people into potters. Got an electrician, stay-at-home mom, housewife, just like often doing other things, but while they were here, this was important, and this is what we worked on. And pottery is just the vehicle that I work in for God's plan on this earth, whatever that is. And he just puts people here that need to be here also. So anyway, I wasn't offended by our conversation, so you came. And I still remember us sitting down, because I don't have, that there isn't a program. I don't look at a resume other than I ask for it because I know I'm supposed to. And I'm like, oh gosh, 3 pages, wow. And I don't care what it says, and I don't care how good of pots you can make. I figure you're coming here to learn how to make pots. The only 2 things that I care about are character and work ethic. And if a person has that, they can come here and be an apprentice. And they can thrive. So yeah, he showed up. I don't know if it was day 1. I think it was day 1, actually. And we did a little bit of stuff in the studio, and then you wanted to show me your portfolio. And we sat down, and it's the first time I'd seen it, you know? So we sat down to look at it, and we scrolled through the whole thing. And I don't remember, I'm paraphrasing here. I think I might have said, there was probably like 30, 40 images. And I said, I think you can keep 2. Or, okay, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 1, definitely 2. And you're like, oh. And so that was the beginning of learning how to look at pots. And because that's what I think people come here, at least for the pottery side. It's what I can pass through me. That's what I interpret best, is seeing a clean line, understanding how to get there, creating an order of operations, and executing it. And there's lots of other skills that are out there in the pottery world that I don't possess to a great degree. But those are the things that I can help people with. Artist is a funny word. It's a stumbling block for me in my interpretation of the question. It's that line. It's the line. To see something that's off by 0.5 millimeter. It sets people apart from a young potter to a mature potter. First and foremost is to remove yourself from your feelings and your emotion, because especially when we're young in pottery, we tend to we love what we do. If you don't get hooked on this, you will quit, because it is tough. And you feel betrayed all the time, you feel let down all the time, you feel enormous amounts of failure all the time. And there's probably a little bit of value to the fact that you can't see the line when you begin, and it's just pure joy and ignorance. And those two things together allow you to grow into a mature potter. And because if you started off with the eye to be able to see good work when you weren't physically capable of making it, you would throw up your hands in disgust. So bad pots looking good is possibly a good thing when you begin, but that needs to go away. And that's where the difference between a young potter and a mature potter, for me, lie. So this kiln is named Big Magic, and I find I don't title a lot of work. I find it insipid, the necessity to title things, but I make a lot of work too. But occasionally, I'm given a title. My wife Diana and I had been given the book Big Magic to read. Now, I don't read books. I can, but I don't, because I don't have time. So I listen to audiobooks. And so we got the audio version. And what's wonderful about it is Elizabeth Gilbert is the author, and she reads it herself. And so it's really a lot of fun to listen to her, the author, read it in her voice, because it's narrative. It's not a story. It's a story, but she's telling a story about her realization of how creativity works. And what I like about it is it's subversively spiritual. And because she doesn't talk about the spiritual side of life, she doesn't talk about God. I actually think she uses his name in vain once. And that's the only time she mentioned God, I believe, but I'm not sure. Anyway, it's subversively spiritual, which I think is palatable for many people. And as much as I would love to be able to proselytize and actually have it work, I don't think it does. When I see the guy standing on the street corner talking about the ends are coming and everyone's a sinner and you're going to hell, I want to turn and run from that. And so I can't imagine somebody who's not even a Christian. What I love about what she is doing is, Paul, there's a woodcut of Paul, the Apostle Paul. Okay, that's the Paul I'm talking about. And he's looking through this dome of reality, materialism, into the spiritual world. And because he describes it as being so, like, you just can't. Paul he actually didn't do a very good job of describing how big it was, because Neil deGrasse actually describes it way better. He gets you there for easier. It's big. And so, but what Elizabeth is talking about is that the reality of life, the spiritual substance that we are swimming in this material game show format that God's got going for us. And so that book better articulates what the creative process feels like to me. And I think it's a wonderful vehicle for people to be able to, one, be able to just take that and think about it as a process. It's no different than when I'm teaching someone how to make a cylinder and we break it down into steps. And there's a process. And when you see something as steps as opposed to an end result and just thinking about that, it's more enabling to do one step at a time. And this creative process that you enter into is with living beings. It just helps people who don't think that way, that are so into the material and so hard their imagination doesn't even think about looking outside that bubble and imagining the spiritual world that we're swimming in. And it's a great stepping stone. And we had read the book. I'm working on the kiln, and I feel compelled to name it. I don't know why, because I'm not into that. And it's just like, bam, hit me. It landed on me. It's like when I named Spinning Earth Pottery, I didn't name it. It was given to me. I was having to write out the paperwork for the tax identification stuff and things, and I was 23 years old. I didn't even know how to do that. And it said name of business, and I went, bam, and it hit me, Spinning Earth Pottery. I to this day haven't thought to myself, I wonder what I should name a business. It literally was given to me as I needed to write it down on the piece of paper. Not the kiln so much, but this space. And not so much that I care that it does, I just wonder about it. It's almost like, I wonder if I should be doing something so that this could outlive me and not just, I don't know. So far, I've been winging it, and God's been like, plowing the road in front of me, and I'm just driving down it. And so I figure with the way stuff's been given to me and the prodding of, like, the nudge or the prod, whatever that is, if I'm supposed to do that, I'll get a kick in the butt, and I'll do that. But this is starting to turn into something that could be something for future generations. And so that could be cool. Me trying to make this into something that outlives me could be bad. It could be not in God's plan, and jacking with the system, and I don't want to do that. I have actually thought to myself, like, if I was to find this in 1,000 years and pick it up, would I be like, man, Ken needs to work on his form, And so I don't, not really, no, not a specific pot I would like, yeah, man, I want future Danny to find that or something. My work is actually incredibly varied for most potters, and not so much the forms, but more about how I glaze them. And this is the glaze. Okay, the wood kiln is the glaze. It makes the glaze, or it adds to the glaze. And then you got reduction firing, which augments it in a much more subtle way, but does affect the glaze. And then you got oxidation firing, which little to no effect. Along through those different firing methods, I make very different work. A lot of the forms that I make are the same. And I feel like as far as beauty and aesthetics are concerned, I'm all about form and line. And the glaze then needs to not be in conflict with that. And so I tend to do things very much on the subtle side. That's basically it in a nutshell. I'm a process form guy, not a decorator. Even though, like an electric kiln where it's literally what you put on there, it's very subtle, lots of spraying usually, unless I'm doing like my crawling glaze, which is very tight, but those are specific forms that work with that. As far as form is concerned, I take that very far. As far as glazing is concerned, I'm still really not what I would call sophisticated. My execution is complete, I believe, but it's not very sophisticated. Let's talk about ego. So an anagama is not a one-person job. Doesn't matter who you are, it's not a one-person job. And it's one of the things I like about it, is I can't do this on my own. There's a lot of things I do on my own that most people will not, but I can't. And I am forced to work with a team. And I actually relish that at times, because I actually believe in consensus. You know, the Roberts rules are for bullies, people that want to try to sway someone's opinion rather than just speak the facts and have patience for other people to learn. And there are 6 leaders. Diane and I are one, okay? So that's the thumb, okay? We're a big one. But there's 4 other leaders and big magic. And I say that it's a differentiation between the leaders, and we have stokers, or kind of their names, titles, whatever. And those are the other people that come into it. But these are 5 people that have all verbally, financially committed to being leaders in this kiln and supporting the operations of it. There's always more than one way to do something. And rarely will 5 people pick the same path. And so we're 10 firings in right now. And there are things that I would have not done that we have done, and things that I have done that I would not have done in this kiln, in the last 10 firings. And some of them I have intentionally stepped back from and let them happen so that the results could speak for themselves, as opposed to me forcing my will upon a group. And ultimately, what's more important? Learning to work in a group or making the best pot? And learning to work in the group actually gets us to the point where someday we're all making our best pots and running it the best way. It can be a struggle, because there's we'll just round, but well over $50,000 worth of work in this kiln every single time it fires. And that's a lot to be responsible for. It's a lot to give up responsibility for. I put it in terms of money because it's something that people can associate with very quickly and easily, but it's a lot more than that, because a $100 pot that turns out the way you want it to feels like more than $100. And so you're putting your heart and soul in here, not just your monetary items. And so you have to sacrifice it, die to self. Yeah, legacy is for dead people. I don't care about legacy. But what I do think is cool is the continuum that we are a part of, I think is really cool. And so when what I want to help bring to people, especially young potters when I'm teaching, is like I'll say to them, where does Nephilim cyanide come from? And they're like, such and such, Hammer and Gillespie, or they're all Google, doing this. Oh, it comes from, blah, 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 And I'm like, no, where? Put on your phone. Where on this planet does it come from? And, nobody knows. I don't know. But I know someone found it. And they didn't find it by going, I think I'm going to go find some Nephilim cyanide. They just said, I wonder what happens if I dig that up and I make it real hot. That's just one glaze ingredient that we use that we know does X. And then there's all the other thousands that there are, somebody had to figure it out by digging up something out of the ground and cooking it. And we stand on the shoulders of thousands of years of blood, sweat, and tears. And failure. And that continuum of knowledge it's a lot, not as much as it was, but it's still passed on in the same manner. It's all in books. It's now all on social media and YouTube and, teaching online and all these kinds of different things. But it's still, it's a continuum from the very first time some guy picked up a piece of clay, didn't know it was clay, and just started poking in it, and it got kicked into the fire on accident and turned into something. And that first pot is a relative of all the pots that are in this room and the pots that are going to go into this next kiln. And like I said before, it ain't about making pots. This is just the vehicle. And so when I see the unbelievably serendipitous nature in which your kiln has arrived, it's a miracle. And to be a part of that, we are co-creators with God and made in His image. It literally says, let us make man in our image. And God is a creator. So we are creators. And that's what I love about Big Magic so much, because it helps people see themselves in the way God made them. And us as creators, we are accepted creators. We accept the fact we are creators. And we recognize it in other people when the people come into my booth at an art fair and they're like, oh, I can't do any blah, and they start giving me all I'm like, no, sorry, incorrect. You just haven't given yourself the opportunity, given the time. We're all creators. And so to be a co-creator that kind of held this up long enough for you to take it up, because I remember your story, you're like, if I told you no, you were out. You're going to go do something else. And so that sounds like, just in the nick of time. There's no such thing. There's no just in the nick of time. It's perfect timing. And, that whatever we came together to do was in God's time. You leaving and finding the seventh Laura, it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And God has to be laughing at that one. Yeah, the whole thing is super cool to watch. And as like the parent generation of what you're doing, it's no different than like watching my other kids, and and then it's no different like when God's watching. Like, yeah, I set that up. That's good, wasn't it? And so it's just the whole thing happening the way it's supposed to. And when you're in that and you feel it, there's a little bit of looking over your shoulder like, oh boy, is this going to stay like this? And so it's that faith and faith, just faith. Put your head down and keep going forward. And so seeing you and Laura do everything that you've done in full faith and have it just keep landing exactly at the time it's supposed to is inspiring to watch.